Michael Ilesanmi is married again. No cameras, no TLC post, no farewell episode. Silence did the talking. News drifted out in fragments, not promos, not teasers, not leaks built for hype. A clean break happened off screen, and fans never received a goodbye. While viewers waited for answers, another absence grew louder. Angela Deem faded from the franchise with no press release, no send-off, no damage control tour. 1 minute she anchored seasons. The next minute official pages moved on. The show kept rolling, yet a core storyline vanished. This moment marks the point where the series lost command of its own narrative. Control usually belongs to producers, edits, contracts. This time, the exits wrote the story. A private wedding overseas. A public figure erased at home. Both moves landed without warning. Silence became the message. Silence shaped the fallout. Silence protected someone, or something, behind closed doors. Stay here, because the quiet choices reveal more than any tell-all ever did. If everything stood clean and mutual, why did the exits arrive wrapped in silence? Michael and Angela did not arrive quietly. From the first moment, their story was loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. A woman from Georgia. A man from Nigeria. A massive age gap. A visa clock hanging over every argument. The setup alone promised tension, and the show leaned into it hard. Michael wanted to build a future in the United States. Angela wanted control, reassurance, loyalty, and constant proof. The visa delays stretched everything thinner. Every pause felt personal. Every denial turned into a fight. And those fights became the brand. Fans watched shouting matches, public blow-ups, smashed cakes, ripped phones, and threats shouted across oceans. Somehow, every season ended the same way. Tears, promises, another reset, another chance, another reunion episode where nothing truly changed. The cycle became familiar, almost comforting in a strange way. The power balance stayed uneven. Angela held the money, the platform, the proximity to production. Michael held the visa dream and very little else. Viewers joked about it online, but jokes often sit on top of something uncomfortable. Loud anger became entertainment. Control passed as concern. Jealousy sold as passion. And because the chaos kept delivering numbers, everyone learned to live with it. Fans normalized behavior they would never accept in their own lives. Producers framed blow-ups as cliffhangers. Each meltdown reset the stakes for the next episode. At some point, the shouting stopped shocking. It turned routine. Hold on, because this pattern explains why the silence later felt so wrong. Season after season, Angela returned. Spin-offs, tell-alls, pillow talk, diaries, games. She became furniture in the franchise. Predictable, reliable, always volatile. Michael stayed mostly where he started, waiting, apologizing, promising patience. The visa remained stuck. The relationship stayed frozen in conflict. Viewers grew tired, but they also kept watching. Complaints filled comment sections, yet episodes featuring Angela still pulled reactions. Hate watching counted the same as love watching. The show did not care which one you felt, only that you felt something. Then, something subtle shifted. Michael stopped feeling present. Not gone, just quieter. Fewer confessionals. Less reactive footage. Scenes cut away faster. Conversations ended mid-beat. At first, fans assumed editing tricks. Maybe he was busy. Maybe time zones. Maybe another visa delay. But the gaps grew wider. Angela filled more space on screen. Her frustration ramped up. Michael's responses flattened. He sounded tired instead of defensive. Short answers replaced long arguments. When conflict arrived, it felt one-sided. That change did not arrive with a headline. It crept in. Keep listening, because this is where the cracks start showing. Even casual viewers sensed something was off. The show leaned harder into Angela's anger, yet Michael stopped pushing back. Where was the usual back and forth? Where was the escalation? Where was the messy symmetry that once fueled the chaos? Edits felt strange. Conversations jumped. Context vanished. Reactions appeared without setup. Fans noticed missing beats. Online threads started pointing it out. Something felt edited down, smoothed over, or skipped. At the same time, real-life signs appeared. Michael's online presence thinned. Fewer posts, less engagement, no teasing, no hype. Meanwhile, Angela stayed loud online, fighting comments, hinting at betrayal, posting emotional rants without details. The contrast felt sharp, one voice shouting, one voice fading. This was not the first time fans saw tension, but it was the first time the show stopped explaining it. Production usually loves buildup. They love framing problems before they explode. This time, scenes jumped straight to anger without context. Something was missing. Viewers filled in the blanks themselves. Stay with this, because missing pieces often matter more than what airs. Light humor started masking fatigue. Jokes about Angela yelling again, memes about Michael surviving another season, but humor carries exhaustion when the same story repeats too long. Fans wanted resolution. Marriage or breakup. Visa approval or denial. Anything final. Instead, the loop continued. And then Michael stopped showing up altogether. Not officially, not announced, just absent. No clear storyline, no explanation arc. He simply vanished between filming cycles. The show moved forward like nothing happened. Angela reacted online, emotional, accusatory, vague. She cried on live streams. She blamed. She hinted at betrayal. She framed herself as abandoned. Fans watched, confused. Why was the show not addressing this directly? Why no formal update? Why no reunion segment clearing the air? This franchise loves spectacle. Silence did not fit the pattern. Because when a show avoids a moment, that moment carries weight. Look back now and the warning signs line up. Michael disengaging. Production glossing over gaps, Angela spiraling outside the show instead of inside it. The narrative control slipping. This was not a sudden collapse. It was erosion. The relationship had been unhealthy for a long time. That part is clear. What changed was participation. Michael stopped playing the role assigned to him. The quiet felt intentional, not avoidance. Withdrawal. From a behavior standpoint, withdrawal often follows burnout. Years of public scrutiny, repeated conflict, little agency, promises delayed, control imbalance. At some point, people shut down before they walk away. To be fair, Michael benefited from the show. Visibility, income, support. He chose to stay longer than many expected. This was not a hostage situation. That matters. Accountability runs both ways. But participation still requires consent, energy, and trust. When those disappear, performance collapses. And when performance collapses, producers lose leverage. The audience sensed it even before the facts surfaced. Comment sections shifted tone. Less laughing, more concern, more frustration with the network. People stopped asking who cheated and started asking why nobody was explaining anything. That question hung unanswered. Angela remained visible, but disconnected from the main narrative. Michael remained central, yet absent. The story lost balance. By the time news of Michael's reported remarriage surfaced, many fans felt shock mixed with recognition. Something clicked. The silence finally made sense. But back then, during those quiet edits and missing scenes, nobody said it out loud. The absence was not accidental. Michael did not disappear overnight. He thinned out, first from energy, then from presence, then from the story itself. Fans noticed missed appearances before they noticed the silence. Confessionals grew shorter. Responses sounded flat. The spark, even the argumentative one, faded. Earlier seasons showed Michael pushing back, explaining himself, defending choices. Later footage showed pauses, nods, shrugs. He stopped performing conflict. Reality TV runs on reaction, and his reactions slowed down. This shift matters more than any single fight you remember. Public patterns tell the story without guessing motives. Fewer scheduled appearances. Delayed filming windows. No hype posts. No teasing clips. When cast members usually flood social media during a season, Michael stayed quiet. Silence replaced commentary. People labeled it strategy. Others called it stress. What stands out is consistency. Once the pullback started, it stayed steady. No bounce back, no reset. From a human angle, disengagement often follows overload. Years of scrutiny, recycled arguments, limited control over edits. Being known worldwide for dysfunction wears people down. Burnout does not always explode. Sometimes it whispers. Michael stopped feeding the machine. Pay attention, because silence often signals a boundary, not confusion. Loss of agency plays a role. Angela controlled access to production, travel, finances, and the emotional tone. Viewers saw her dominant rooms. Michael adapted by shrinking. That pattern showed on screen long before words described it. But fairness matters here. Michael stayed. He renewed contracts. He accepted paychecks. He benefited from fame. He gained visibility, income, and support. This was not one-sided victimhood. He also chose patience longer than most viewers expected. That choice brought rewards. It also carried costs. Two things stay true at once. He benefited. He burned out. Both truths coexist, and ignoring either weakens the story. As seasons passed, Michael stopped negotiating publicly. Earlier tell-alls showed him pleading, explaining, apologizing. Later ones showed him disengaged, distant, and guarded. Body language told a clearer story than dialogue. Production filled the gaps with louder Angela moments. That imbalance felt intentional. Conflict stayed alive even while one side stepped back. Fans reacted differently this time. Sympathy grew. Not for the storyline, but for the human response. Watching someone check out on camera feels uncomfortable. Because when someone shuts down, entertainment turns uneasy. Then came the Nigeria trip. At first, it sounded routine. A visit home, time to regroup, family time. Many couples on the show take breaks across continents. Nothing dramatic, nothing final. That framing held for weeks. Then, the silence stretched. Michael stopped responding publicly. No clarifications, no interviews, no teasers, no reassurance posts. Angela filled the vacuum online with emotion, accusations, and confusion. The contrast sharpened. Fans expected a return announcement, a filming update, a closure arc. None arrived. This is the moment everything tilted. Silence shifted from temporary to fixed. Weeks passed. Then months. Production moved forward without him. Edits avoided explanation. The show did not fill in blanks. That absence did not feel accidental. Networks explain exits when they control them. Here, control slipped. Michael's quiet suggested finality, not negotiation. Friends later hinted at exhaustion, not fear. He did not defend himself. He did not argue narratives. He stopped participating. Walking away from attention requires resolve, especially when attention pays. This choice reshaped the power dynamic overnight. The audience response changed tone. Less speculation about cheating, more discussion about mental strain. People started talking about survival, not scandal. Angela's reactions grew louder as Michael's silence deepened. When one voice fades, the other often amplifies. That pattern played out publicly. Angela accused. Michael withheld. The show avoided. 3 silences collided. When silence multiplies, something structural broke. To stay fair, Michael's withdrawal also removed accountability. Silence leaves room for confusion. Fans lost access to his side. Questions lingered. Not answering carries consequences too. Yet his refusal to perform closure sent a message. The story did not belong to the show anymore. Then whispers started. News filtered slowly. Not through official channels, through fragments. Local chatter, indirect confirmations, no rollout, no monetization, no spectacle. Michael did not leverage the moment. That detail matters. Because fame seekers never exit quietly. The Nigeria trip stopped looking temporary. The silence stopped looking defensive. Something changed fast, and the show could not reframe it. Whatever conversations happened behind closed doors ended without compromise. Michael did not return. He did not explain. He did not tease. From a behavior standpoint, this reads as closure, not strategy. People chasing leverage negotiate. People finished with a chapter leave without looking back. And this is where the story slips beyond production control. The audience sensed it before details emerged. The absence carried weight. Fans filled forums with timelines. Edits got scrutinized. Silence felt loud. Michael pulled away first from performance, then from presence, then from the narrative entirely. That progression rarely reverses. By the time confirmation surfaced later, it felt less shocking and more clarifying. The signs had lined up. The withdrawal was not hesitation. Something changed fast. The news did not arrive the way reality TV teaches us to expect it. No glossy photos, no couple announcement, no Instagram countdown, no monetized interview. Just a quiet confirmation that slipped out without ceremony. Michael is married again. That sentence landed harder because of how it happened. Not because remarriage is shocking in itself, but because of the deliberate absence around it. No proof of life posts. No wedding footage. No brand tie-ins. No exclusive reveal. In a media ecosystem built on attention, this marriage rejected attention entirely. That choice matters more than any cheating rumor ever could. Cheating keeps doors open. It invites debate, denials, timelines, reunion couches, receipts. Marriage closes doors. Marriage ends negotiation. Marriage says the previous chapter is not being litigated anymore. And this one arrived sealed. Fans waited for clarification that never came. TLC stayed silent. Cast reactions were muted or non-existent. The usual ecosystem of reaction content stalled because there was nothing to grab onto. No images to analyze, no captions to decode, no sound bites to spin, just finality. And finality is the one thing reality television cannot edit around. From a psychological perspective, the move reads as intentional withdrawal, not secrecy for drama. People seeking leverage keep options visible. They tease. They float ambiguity. They monetize curiosity. Michael did none of that. Choosing privacy over visibility is not neutral. It is a rejection of the system that rewards exposure. It is choosing normalcy over narrative control. That decision reframed everything retroactively. Suddenly, the earlier silence made sense. The disengagement, the refusal to perform closure, the lack of rebuttal, the absence of counter-narratives. Those were not stalls. They were exits. This was not someone waiting to see what deal came next. And here is where it hits differently for the audience. Breakups in this franchise are expected. They are processed publicly. They unfold across episodes. They invite sides. They promise tell-alls. Viewers are trained to anticipate chaos, followed by partial resolution. Marriage removes that expectation. Marriage says the story moved on without you, without the cameras, without your reaction. That stings in a different way. For years, fans invested time, emotion, outrage, memes, arguments. They watched a relationship implode repeatedly, assuming they would eventually witness the end. Closure felt owed. Instead, the ending happened elsewhere. That feels like being locked out of a room you were invited into for a decade. The lack of monetization matters too. In this space, even privacy often comes with breadcrumbs, a blurred photo, a vague caption, a soft launch. None of that appeared. Michael did not convert his marriage into content. That choice signals value alignment. Whatever this new relationship represents, it exists outside the reality TV economy. That is not accidental. From a human standpoint, choosing a quiet life after years of public dysfunction suggests exhaustion rather than triumph. This does not read as revenge. It reads as relief. But the impact rippled outward. TLC thrives on ambiguity. Ambiguity fuels speculation. Speculation fuels engagement. Engagement fuels longevity. As long as a relationship's status remains unclear, the show retains leverage. Michael's marriage removed that ambiguity. He ended the what-if without asking permission. That forced a narrative gap the network could not immediately fill. Without his participation, without visual proof, without a timeline they could shape, production lost its usual tools. Silence became their only option. This is where the power shift becomes visible. For years, the show dictated pacing, framing, and resolution. This time, a cast member closed the story off screen, and the audience felt it. Reactions shifted from gossip to disbelief, from outrage to recalibration. People stopped arguing about who was wrong and started grappling with the fact that the ending did not belong to them. That discomfort signals loss of control. There is also an unspoken cultural layer here. Michael's marriage did not center American media. It did not cater to U.S. audiences. It did not seek validation from the franchise that built his visibility. That choice reframed his identity. No longer a character waiting for approval, just a person moving forward. This does not erase his past participation. It does not absolve mistakes. It does not rewrite history. But it does draw a firm line between then and now. And lines are dangerous for ongoing franchises. Angela's narrative relied on unresolved tension. Her visibility depended on conflict still being alive. A closed chapter collapses that structure. Suddenly, her anger had no counterpart. Her accusations had no stage. Her storyline lost its anchor. One quiet decision destabilized an entire arc. This is the emotional midpoint of the story, not because of romance, but because of consequence. The marriage signaled that the long-running saga did not end with a bang, but with disengagement. That is harder to process than betrayal. Viewers can debate cheating endlessly. They cannot debate a marriage that refuses to perform. And that refusal forced the spotlight to move. Because when one side exits completely, attention turns to what remains. The cameras stayed in America. The silence stayed unanswered. And the franchise had to reckon with the half of the story it could still access. Now the spotlight swings back to America. Angela Deem did not stumble into longevity on this franchise. She earned it the way reality television rewards people: volume, volatility, and reliability. For years, she delivered chaos on demand. Arguments escalated fast. Scenes stayed combustible. Reactions spilled beyond episodes into headlines, memes, and comment wars. From a production standpoint, Angela was valuable. She was predictable in the one way that matters: she would always give content. When cameras rolled, something happened. When tension lagged, she created it. When storylines stalled, she reignited them. Ratings followed. Chaos is not just entertainment in reality TV. It is currency. And Angela minted a lot of it. This explains why TLC protected her for so long. Protection does not always mean approval. It means tolerance. It means reframing behavior as passion, temper, or big personality. It means continuing to cast someone because they move numbers, not because they model health. Fans saw it. They debated it. But as long as viewership stayed high, the risk felt manageable. Until it didn't. Over time, the tone shifted. Angela's aggression stopped reading as spectacle and started reading as instability. On-screen outbursts escalated from yelling to physical intimidation. Crew members intervened. Scenes cut abruptly. Moments that once played for shock began ending early, unfinished, or softened in editing. These were not rumors. Viewers watched producers step in, watched cameras pull back, watched scenes dissolve before resolution. Those are red flags in unscripted television. Because when production intervenes on camera, it means the line has already been crossed off camera. That shift matters more than any insult or argument. Behavior became harder to contextualize as storyline conflict. The imbalance between Angela and Michael became impossible to ignore once Michael stopped engaging. What once looked like mutual chaos began to look one-directional. And that is where risk enters the equation. Reality television can tolerate yelling. It can tolerate dysfunction. It struggles with sustained aggression when one participant disengages or withdraws consent. At that point, the dynamic stops being entertainment and starts becoming exposure. Exposure to liability. As Michael pulled away, Angela lost the counterweight that made her volatility playable. Without his reactions, her anger echoed in empty space. Scenes felt unresolved. Accusations hung without reply. The show could no longer frame conflict as relational when only one side remained present. The power imbalance flipped. Angela's identity within the franchise depended on conflict still being alive. Control mattered. Narrative mattered. Visibility mattered. When Michael's silence hardened into absence, control slipped away from her too. That loss is destabilizing for anyone, but especially for someone whose on-screen authority relied on dominance. The louder she got, the less leverage she had. Public behavior mirrored that shift. Online posts grew more emotional. Lives became less structured. Language blurred between grievance and distress. Boundaries thinned. Fans noticed the unraveling, but the show did not immediately address it. Why? Because networks move slowly when a cast member still generates engagement. Ending a long-running figure requires justification that outweighs ratings. It requires risk to exceed reward. For a while, Angela still delivered reaction. Then came the breaking point. Details remain fragmented, but the shape of it matters more than specifics. Reports surfaced of a meltdown tied to loss of control, not a storyline argument, not a dramatic beat designed for cameras. A moment where production reportedly faced a choice between continuing and intervening. Language shifted behind the scenes. Not drama, not conflict. Words like unsafe, unmanageable, liability entered the conversation. Those words do not belong to television storytelling. They belong to legal departments. Once behavior crosses into liability territory, protection ends. No amount of ratings offsets risk to crew, cast, or brand. At that point, the question is no longer is this good TV, but can we defend this? That distinction changes everything. Angela's long leash shortened fast. Patterns that were once tolerated became documented. Incidents that were once edited around became impossible to ignore. Without Michael present to anchor scenes, the show could not justify continuing the arc. And here is the critical shift. Michael's marriage closed the door on ambiguity. Angela's behavior opened the door to consequence. Those two forces collided. The franchise could not rebuild the relationship. It could not pivot to reconciliation. It could not stretch tension into another cycle. The story engine stalled. At that moment, Angela stopped being an asset and started becoming a risk. Networks do not announce that transition publicly. They do not issue dramatic statements. They move quietly. They reduce appearances. They stop scheduling. They fade someone out without explanation, which is exactly what happened. Angela did not receive a send-off. No tribute, no closure episode, no farewell montage. She simply vanished from future plans. That absence spoke louder than any press release. Because silence is how networks manage liability without admitting fault. Fans asked questions. Speculation grew. But the lack of official explanation was intentional. Addressing the exit would require naming behavior. Naming behavior would require accountability. Accountability opens doors networks prefer to keep closed. So the show moved on. Not loudly, not cleanly, but decisively. Angela's era ended not with a scandal episode, but with removal. This is where the stakes escalate beyond personalities. This is about control, about who dictates endings, about what happens when a franchise built on chaos loses its tolerance for it. Michael exited by choosing privacy. Angela exited by becoming unmanageable. Those are very different endings. And they leave one final question hanging over the franchise. What happens when the show itself becomes the last one standing? And then the network moved. When the noise stopped, the silence felt planned. TLC did not explain. TLC did not deny. TLC did not tease or reveal. The network simply closed ranks. Promos shifted. Names vanished from previews. Clips reappeared shorter, softer, trimmed around edges viewers remembered being sharper. This was not accidental. This was a strategy. Silence works better than statements when stakes turn legal. A statement creates records. Silence lets memory fade. Fans argue with each other instead of the network. Time does the cleanup. Episodes already filmed did not disappear overnight. They changed shape. Scenes cut earlier than expected. Reactions muted. Arguments resolved off screen. You could feel the edit working overtime, sanding down moments that once would have been centerpieces. People noticed, but many brushed it off as pacing issues or creative choices. That assumption helped the strategy succeed, because when something truly ends clean, networks celebrate closure. When something ends quietly, there is a reason. This was not closure. This was containment. Names stopped appearing in promotional captions. Cast interviews skipped topics fans cared about. Reunion chatter softened into vagueness. Hosts redirected conversations. Producers avoided follow-ups. The absence grew louder by staying unnamed. And here is where many viewers misunderstand silence. Silence does not mean nothing happened. Silence means someone decided talking created more risk than benefit. NDAs play a huge role here. In plain language, an INDA is a contract that trades money or access for quiet. Cast members sign them early. Crew members sign them too. Violating one risks lawsuits, blacklisting, or both. That means even people who want to speak often cannot. Even people who disagree stay careful. Even people who feel wronged measure every word. Silence spreads fast when consequences follow speech. And silence protects systems better than people. This is where fairness matters. Networks do have a duty to protect crews. They do have to manage safety. They do have to stop filming when situations turn volatile. That part deserves acknowledgement. But protection and transparency are not the same thing. TLC did not sit viewers down and explain change. TLC chose quiet edits and strategic absence. That choice was not about honesty. That choice was about insurance. Insurance companies do not care about drama arcs. They care about risk exposure. Patterns. Complaints. Documented incidents. Once numbers tip, coverage shifts or disappears. At that point, production does not debate morality. Production acts to reduce liability. This reframes everything. Angela's exit was not a lesson. It was a calculation. Michael's silence was not a mystery. It was inconvenient for a storyline built on ambiguity. The machine did not collapse from outrage. It adjusted to survive, and that should unsettle viewers. Because chaos was never a bug. Chaos was the product. It drove engagement. It fueled ratings. It created careers, until it crossed a line that money could not smooth over. When that line appeared, the same system that amplified volatility shut its mouth. Fans often ask why no one confirms what happened. This is why. Confirmation creates responsibility. Responsibility creates precedent. Precedent invites scrutiny. So instead, the franchise shifted tone. The show feels different now. Conflicts resolve faster. Edits feel cautious. Moments that once escalated now end early. Producers intervene sooner. The wild edge dulled. Some viewers welcome the change. Others feel something missing. Both reactions are valid. Because what you are feeling is not nostalgia. It is recalibration. The franchise learned a limit. The audience realization creeps in slowly. This was never about right or wrong behavior. It was about what could be ensured, what could be defended, what could be contained. When chaos stayed profitable, it stayed visible. When chaos threatened safety and exposure, it vanished. That is the real lesson. Reality television sells intimacy, but operates on distance. It invites viewers close while keeping accountability far away. When problems arise, the system closes in on itself. And once ranks close, the truth leaks only through absence. No announcements, no confessions, no explanations, just edits. Just silence. Just a feeling that something ended without saying goodbye. And that uneasy feeling is the point. Because if this were clean, they would talk about it. The fallout did not explode. It seeped. Fans noticed gaps before they named them. Comment sections filled with pattern spotting. Old castmates stopped interacting publicly. Birthday posts disappeared. Likes dried up. People who once chimed in on everything stayed quiet. Silence became data. You could scroll and feel something missing without knowing how to describe it. No shared jokes, no playful shade, no cross-promotion. For a franchise built on constant overlap, the absence stood out, and fans filled the quiet with theories. Some guessed legal threats, others assumed rebranding. A few blamed burnout. None of those ideas came from nowhere. They came from watching the same show long enough to know when the rhythm breaks. Angela stayed visible, loud, online. That contrast sharpened everything. Lives popped up, posts hinted at grievances, captions felt defensive, energy shifted from confidence to urgency. This behavior did not come from vanity. It looked like survival. When reality TV exits someone without closure, attention becomes currency. Staying relevant becomes a job. The algorithm does not care about context. It rewards volume. Silence equals disappearance. Angela did what people do when their platform shrinks. She chased relevance. She reminded fans she existed. She tried to keep the conversation alive. That instinct is human. But it also revealed something painful. Without the show amplifying her, the spotlight felt harsher. Content that once landed as spectacle now landed as strain. Fans reacted differently. Sympathy mixed with discomfort. Support mixed with fatigue. The audience had moved on faster than she had. Michael did the opposite. No explanations, no victory lap, no clarification. He did not correct rumors. He did not confirm timelines. He did not monetize curiosity. That choice changed the tone of everything. Silence reads differently when someone owes nothing. Michael did not need the audience anymore. He did not need the narrative. His absence felt deliberate, final, and that contrast split fan reaction right down the middle. Some viewers felt relief. They read his silence as peace. Others felt frustrated. They wanted answers. They felt entitled to closure after years of watching. Both reactions make sense. Reality TV trains audiences to expect resolution. Confessionals, reunion couches, last words. When those disappear, viewers feel abandoned. But that discomfort says more about the system than the people inside it. Fans debated who won. Michael escaped. Angela lost. TLC protected itself. Everyone paid a price. But winning might be the wrong frame. Michael regained privacy. He also lost income and visibility. Angela kept attention. She also lost control of narrative and platform. TLC preserved brand stability. It also lost credibility with a portion of its audience. Nobody walked away untouched. Online discussions grew sharper. Some fans rewatched old episodes with new eyes. Moments once played for laughs felt darker. Power imbalances felt clearer. Editing choices stood out. This retrospective discomfort mattered. It signaled a shift in how audiences consume chaos. Viewers started asking different questions. Not who yelled louder, but who benefited. Not who entertained more, but who paid the cost. That shift did not come from a statement. It came from absence. Angela posting alone. Michael gone entirely. The show quieter. The community adjusted together, slowly. And then something else happened. New seasons felt different. Conflicts wrapped sooner. Producers intervened earlier. Cast members appeared more cautious. Emotional blow-ups did not linger as long. Fans noticed that too. Some praised the calmer tone. Others missed the edge. Many felt conflicted. That tension sits at the heart of the fallout. Do viewers want safety or spectacle? Do networks owe transparency or protection? Does silence heal or erase? Those questions have no clean answers. Angela's relevance chasing reads one way if you see it as desperation. It reads another way if you see it as refusal to disappear quietly. Michael's silence reads one way if you see it as peace. Another if you see it as avoidance. Both readings can exist. And that ambiguity keeps the conversation alive. Fans still debate. They still comment. They still search for signs. A like here. A follow there. Absence remains the loudest clue. This is not a scandal with a headline ending. This is a slow afterimage. A sense that something shifted underfoot while nobody announced it. Who really won here? The man who chose privacy. The woman who clung to visibility. Or the network that adjusted without admitting fault? Sit with that question. Because the answer is not clean. The show looks different now, even if cameras are rolling. The edges are softer. The loud chaos that once defined its identity is no longer untouchable. Producers can no longer wait for drama to spiral out of control and hope it hits ratings before it hits legal walls. The stakes have shifted. What used to be entertainment now carries risk, and the risk has become undeniable. Fans who have been watching for years might not notice the first few subtle changes. A cast member who used to push boundaries now pauses. Crew interventions are no longer invisible, they are part of the plan. Production notes probably have a checklist for emotional escalation. Risk assessment now lives alongside scripting. That's a major pivot for a franchise built on unpredictability. And viewers are noticing it, even if they can't name it yet. Michael's silence, Angela's removal, the sudden absence of the usual public spats, these are not random. They signal a recalibration. TLC is reasserting control, not to protect the audience, but to protect the system. Episodes may still shock, but the shock is now curated. The drama is managed. The chaos is boxed. The industry is watching. Other reality franchises are taking notes. Networks are learning that a cast member can be both a ratings engine and a liability. When volatility is monetized without limits, it becomes a legal and safety problem. Executives across reality television are reconsidering how far they can let on-screen behavior run unchecked. Meanwhile, the audience has grown wiser. Years of behind-the-scenes speculation have honed a kind of collective intuition. Fans notice editing gaps. They see absences. They compare social media patterns. The platform itself has trained them to read the signs. No one misses the subtleties, and that awareness shifts expectations for all future seasons. Michael choosing privacy over spectacle was quietly revolutionary. Angela's public struggle became a cautionary tale. And TLC's quiet recalibration exposed the system for what it is: reactive, strategic, and calculated. This is not a story about love or heartbreak. It is a story about survival, choice, and consequence in a machine designed to exploit human behavior for profit. And that's the point. The narrative has changed forever. The shift is subtle, but it is profound. Chaos is no longer the uncontested driver of ratings. Emotional volatility now carries tangible costs. Networks must weigh exposure against engagement. Cast members must weigh participation against personal well-being. The formula that once fueled the franchise cannot function the same way. For viewers, this creates a different kind of tension. There are still fights, still awkward confrontations, still emotional cliffhangers. But everything now comes with a layer of awareness. Behind every argument is a producer, a safety protocol, a liability check. The raw, unfiltered escalation that once drew fans in is now tempered by caution. This recalibration affects storytelling. Moments of silence carry weight. Absences become statements. Subtle edits speak louder than shouty confessionals. For a franchise whose history depended on amplified chaos, this is revolutionary. It is a quieter, more deliberate form of drama that demands a different kind of engagement from the audience, and it leaves viewers asking a new question: how much of the story are we seeing, and how much is being managed behind the scenes? In the big picture, the saga of Michael and Angela is more than personal. It is instructive. The network learned its limits. Cast members learned theirs. The audience learned the stakes. And the genre learned that chaos, while profitable, has boundaries it cannot cross without consequence. As seasons continue, the echo of this shift will be everywhere. Fans will watch more closely. Social media chatter will analyze with sharper eyes. Producers will strategize with the lessons of silence and absence in mind. Even casual viewers will sense that the rules have changed, even if they cannot fully articulate how. And that's the legacy. This is no love story, no redemption arc, no triumphant reunion. It is a case study in consequence, a cautionary tale of visibility, risk, and choice. Michael reclaimed life. Angela faced the limits of chaos. TLC recalibrated its system, and the franchise itself stepped into a new era. Every argument, every edit, Every silent post will now carry that weight. Fans will never look at 90 Day Fiancé the same way again. The unpredictability is still there, but it comes with a reminder that behind the cameras, the system has learned its lesson. Drama is no longer untouchable. Risk has boundaries. Survival requires strategy. The show will continue, but the rules have shifted. Chaos is curated. Presence is measured. Absence speaks louder than spectacle. And viewers, long trained by years of volatility, know that the most powerful moments now happen in the spaces between what is shown and what is withheld. And if you thought you understood this franchise before, think again. Everything you thought you knew is quietly changing. Michael's life in Nigeria is quiet, almost shockingly so. No cameras, no press releases, no public fanfare, just a marriage conducted privately, intentionally away from the glare of reality TV. Meanwhile, back in the US, Angela's presence has vanished from the franchise. Social media engagement has stalled, promotional spots scrubbed, and storylines rewritten. There's no dramatic reunion episode, no farewell confessionals, just an abrupt disappearance that leaves fans staring at empty screens. The show that once thrived on chaos is now forced to recalibrate, learning that uncontrolled volatility can no longer be packaged as entertainment without real consequences. Fans are left processing what happened, piecing together fragments of absence and silence. Michael's choice shows a finality rarely seen in reality TV, while Angela's sidelining exposes the limits of fame built on instability. The consequences ripple through the franchise, setting new precedents for cast behavior, on-set safety, and executive oversight. The quiet aftermath says more than any explosive episode ever could. And just when you think this saga has ended, whispers are already surfacing about another cast member whose silence is speaking louder than any reunion. In the next video, we'll see how absence can tell a story even louder than on-screen drama.